Notre Dame just picked up their fifth commitment in the past week, and now the Irish have the second-ranked class in the country. Recruiting insider Brian Smith joins me to break down the newest additions and why this class of 2026 could reshape the way the rest of the country views Notre Dame football. It's all coming right up on today's crossover edition of Locked On Irish and the Portal.
You are Locked On Irish, your daily podcast on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on, and welcome in to a special crossover edition of Locked On Irish and the Portal. My name is Tyler Wojak, the host of Locked On Irish. I'm a Notre Dame alum, producer at Fox Sports, and I've been covering Notre Dame football for the past 5 years. I appreciate you joining me here on Wednesday, June 25th, and thanks for making this your first watch or listen of the day. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. That way, you never miss an episode, especially with how hot Notre Dame is on the recruiting trail as of late. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, today I'm going to be joined by national recruiting analyst and the host of the Portal podcast for us here at the Locked On Podcast Network, Brian Smith. We're going to react to Notre Dame's latest commitment, this one from three-star offensive tackle Charlie Tom. We're going to break down what makes Joey O'Brien and Kari Adams such elite prospects. And Brian has had a front row seat to watch Joey O'Brien these past couple days. We're going to talk about that and examine how Notre Dame is finally turning the corner at wide receiver and defensive line recruiting. Then at the end, we're going to look at the national perception of Marcus Freeman's recruiting efforts and how this class of 2026 can not only shift the narrative around Notre Dame football nationally, but go down as one of the best recruiting classes in Notre Dame history. Let's bring in Brian. All right, Brian, let's start with the latest news. Notre Dame just picked up a commitment from three-star offensive lineman Charlie Tom on Tuesday. He's a pretty intriguing athlete, but still very raw considering he hasn't even made the switch to offensive tackle yet. So what's your evaluation of him, and how do you think he fits into this class, given the fact that they didn't offer him until last week?
This is a really random recruitment. Tom wanted to go to Notre Dame. He's got connections to the school, and he went back an extra year to be like a grad, I don't even know what it is, a postgraduate high school student. But like you said, he hasn't played tackle. So you just kind of have to look at it from an athletic standpoint as an evaluator. Could he possibly move into that? It's a big leap of faith because we're talking 50 pounds that you need to put on. It's a lot of weight, brother. I mean, eating is fun, but 50 pounds is still 50 pounds. So I don't know what he's going to do as a run blocker, as a pass protector, but he does have the long limbs that you're looking for, and he loves Notre Dame. I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking him as like an extra tackle. And it's just hard to find tackles, period. I saw some of the offensive linemen today for Notre Dame at the five-star camp at Rivals. They need linemen in this class. I was not happy with that group very much today. But Tom's kid got upside, so they took him. We'll see what he can do this fall. But right now, he's a project that has a lot of athleticism and love for Notre Dame. So that's about it. I like this film, but again, it's not really doing the same things that he's going to have to do playing for the Irish.
And Notre Dame is in a position where they can take a flyer on a guy because once Grayson McHugh committed last week, he was the fifth offensive lineman. And now with Tom, they have 6 offensive linemen in this class after signing 4 in each of the past 2 cycles. So what do you make of this group as a whole compared to the previous offensive line hauls?
Again, I mean, I saw some of them today. They struggled in pass protection. These guys are big, heavy guys that are going to pound you straight ahead.
Which ones specifically?
I mean, I didn't know which kid was which. They were all standing together. I couldn't tell who was who. I didn't get the roster. I didn't care. But none of them were good at pass protection. None of them. None of the two new kids were not there. So the other kids that I saw, none of them were good. I think it was the Michigan kids. The kid from PA might have been there too, but none of the Notre Dame kids were good in pass pro. These were elite defensive linemen, but they're run blockers. They're all interior guys, in my opinion. So those guys usually get annihilated in these drills, and they did. Most of the bigger guys there struggled. So it's more a matter of just learning the technique stuff. O-line takes forever. But it was pretty bad. So for part of the time. And because of that, I don't like this group as much as I did a couple of the other ones, but I think that Grayson McHugh's he's an NFL player. that's a kid that's going to play on Sundays. So getting a left tackle in your class, a pure one, gives me hope. But the other kids have so far to go. It's just they have the frames. There's a lot of question marks that I have.
Yeah, I get that. And considering last year, Notre Dame really stressed getting tackles. They got Will Black, they got Matty Augustine, they got Owen Strabig. This year, there was a clear emphasis on getting interior guys. And like you said, they aren't really best suited to perform well in shorts and a t-shirt in a camp setting like this, going up against elite pass rushers on the other side of the ball. But Notre Dame also just landed tight end Preston Frizzell, who seems to be rising up quickly on a lot of boards out there, but they're still waiting on decisions from Evan Jacobson and Ian Premer. Do you think that they're going to be able to land one of those two guys? And if they do, whether it be Jacobson or Ian Premer, would you consider this the type of tight end class that lives up to the expectations for a program that considers itself tight end U?
It depends. Ian Premer, however you say his name, that he's the best of that group. And I don't think they're going to get him. If they get him, it is. They need two tight ends in this class, in my opinion. If they don't end with two, you got to get a good kid out of the portal, which tight end's not that hard to do, so it's not a big deal. But it's just weird. Of all positions Notre Dame might have to go to the portal for, being tight end. Like Jacobson, I don't know where they sit with him. Like I thought he would have committed by now, so it makes me wonder if they're really the team. But like he's a kid from Iowa. It's a little different for him, but we'll see. But Premer, I've heard more Kansas State, Iowa State talk. I just think he would rather stay close to home. That's my guess. But Notre Dame had him on campus recently, so we'll see. But I really like the kid they just got, though, from Toledo Central Catholic, Frizzell. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's a move tight end, play H-back, can play in the slot. Needs to add a little weight to be truly an attached tight end to attack guys on the edge as a run blocker, but that's typical. Good athlete, though, can catch. He's a good player.
It feels like Notre Dame could end up taking 5 wide receivers in this class, and you could almost call Preston Frizzell a wide receiver because even though he's a tight end, he likes to line up in the slot. So Notre Dame already has Dylan Faison and Bubba Frazier committed, and they seem to be trending for their top target in Kaden Finley after his official visit to Texas, plus Devin Fitzgerald and Braden Robinson. Do you think that taking 5 wide receivers in this class is the right approach?
Depends on what you think of the players that you have committed. How confident are you in like a Bubba Frazier? Everybody's got their opinions on guys. I like Bubba a lot. But he would be similar to Braden Robinson, almost the same as Braden Robinson. So I don't know how much double slot you want to run because those are 2 slot receivers. If you don't want to run much of it, you probably don't take Braden Robinson. So to me, I think I would wait on taking 5 if that's truly your plan. You got to take another guy that's got more size because, if you remember now, Faison's not the biggest guy either. So they've already got 2 of those essentially. So I don't think 5 is necessarily the right way to go unless you get another bigger guy.
Yeah, I get that. The nice thing is if Finley and Fitzgerald do end up committing, those are 2 big body receivers. And I think that Notre Dame kind of looks at it like they have just missed out on a lot of the top wide receiver targets, so maybe they don't feel like they're in a good position. I don't really know what to expect from Scrap Richardson or Jerome Bettis Jr. It seems like Elijah Burris made a great impression during spring practice, but we'll have to just wait and see on those other guys. So then you bring in 5 and maybe you just kind of let the survival of the fittest shake out, and then if there is some attrition, you live with it. But if all 5 of those guys I just mentioned end up signing with Notre Dame, including a couple of top targets like Kaden Finley, who has been their top priority this entire cycle at the position, it does seem like they're in a really good position to land him now. What would that say about wide receiver coach Mike Brown, who faced some fair criticism early in his tenure?
He stuck with it. It's easy to give in to recruiting a kid that's from Texas. His dad not only played at Texas, he was a legacy because he was a dude in the NFL. And Texas has got a passing game that, no offense to Notre Dame, far exceeds it. Pretty tough pill to kind of take that one, but Notre Dame's right there with him. I actually spoke to a member of the rival staff today about that. They're like, he could really go to Notre Dame. Like, and this guy lives in Texas and all that, Sam Spiegelman. It's like, it could happen. So Notre Dame's done a good job, and Brown deserves part of that credit. I don't know if he's going to end up signing with Notre Dame, but the momentum for Notre Dame seems to be on the upswing. Maybe they get him. If they do, that's the guy they really wanted. That's the one they put the most emphasis on. So got to give him credit for it.
Why do you think Finley was their guy this whole cycle?
I think they see Jaden Greathouse part two, power slot that can play outside, move around. Those guys are super annoying to guard because most safeties can't stick with them, and corners just aren't physical enough. Like, look what Greathouse did to Penn State and Ohio State. Those are two really talented secondaries, and he smoked them. I think once you find success, the old saying is very simple. Why would you change? Just keep doing what you're doing. So I think that's kind of the thought process, and their body types are very similar.
All right, we have hit the offensive side of the ball, but Notre Dame's recent defensive haul might be even more impressive. So coming up, Brian and I are going to dive into what he has seen from some of Notre Dame's top commits in recent days and whether they're going to be able to pull in one of the best defensive line classes in the country. So stick around on this crossover edition of Locked On Irish and the Portal. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. My favorite thing about Monarch is that it helps you with your short and long-term goals. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. You've already mentioned a couple times you are at the Rivals 5-star camp in Indianapolis. Based on what we were talking about before we started recording, it sounds like it's 1,000,000 degrees in Indy right now, but I know that some of Notre Dame's top prospects are participating, including recent 5-star commit Joey O'Brien. So who has stood out to you in a positive way this week, and what should Notre Dame fans be excited about based on what you've seen in person?
Well, Joey O'Brien got to practice his backflip because of his abilities today. Catching it, tracking it, defending it, wherever the football is going, Joey is Johnny on the spot. Like, he is just naturally instinctive with where the football is going to go. He measured in at 6'4.5", 184 pounds. He's still a slender kid. Kind of looks like a two-guard that would play at Duke or something. That's what he looks like, to be honest. And he's just really, really athletic. And a great kid, by the way. He's a really nice kid. I think he's going to play early. I don't give a crap who's in Notre Dame secondary. They're going to find a way to get him on the field. I asked him, I said, well, where's Mickens going to play? I'd heard corner was a possibility. He's like, we're going to try it a little bit, but safety and nickel are the priorities. And I think that especially in third down and long, when you get into nickel and dime, would not be surprising at all, especially teams that have bigger receivers, if Joey found his way onto the field. Like, he measured in at Rivals at 6'4.5". That's not his height and weight. Like, that's what Rivals measured him at. So that's a good sign. And he's long as all get out. I think he can play right away. I like him just as much at receiver as I do safety. He's got great hands too. So as far as Javian Osborne, he was there. He's electric as a pass catcher. Now, I know he's a running back, but he was killing guys. Even some of the DBs didn't necessarily do so great against him. And the linebackers, it was comical. Like, literally no chance whatsoever. It was a joke. It was like Notre Dame playing a high school team. So he had his way with that. And he's coming off a wrist injury. And he just got back in shape. He's been running hills and stuff. He measured in at like 5'8.5", 200 pounds, and he is yoked. I know Notre Dame's really deep at running back, but Osborne's going to play somehow. I mean, there's just no way he's not going to play some. Notre Dame has a gold stack of just riches at running back right now. Even though they're going to lose one, if not two after this year, they're still going to be loaded. And Osborne is one of them. I spoke to his dad today, by the way, and he said Marcus Freeman was the key on getting him to Notre Dame. So Marcus, not really shocking, did another great job on the recruiting trail for another elite kid. Far as the underclassmen, Teddy Jarrard and Peyton Houston, the two quarterbacks Notre Dame offered, were both there. I talked to both extensively. Great kids. Notre Dame has a better shot at Teddy than they do at Peyton right now, but they're recruiting both, and they are both absolutely dynamic. Teddy Jarrard won the accuracy challenge. He won MVP at quarterback, and he's going to have his pick of schools. He is absolutely awesome. Peyton Houston is a video game. That's what I even told him to his face. He reminds me of Murray, the kid that plays for the Arizona Cardinals. He's that kind of freaky athlete. He's 5'10", 200, cannon for an arm, and just unbelievable as an athlete. He could play slot, but he's playing quarterback. So I don't think Notre Dame's got a great shot there. They're not in the top 5 right now, but those are the 2 offers. They got a pretty good shot at Teddy, though.
Okay, I do want to talk more about the 2027 quarterbacks, but I actually want to go back to something you said about Joey O'Brien, because to me, I think he's best suited to play safety. So that way he can kind of roam around the middle of the field and he could just make a play on the ball, where I feel like if you put him at corner, he's almost limited, and limited is maybe not the best word choice in this situation, but he's sort of sidelined to one side, whereas like if he's in the middle, you can just move him around and he is like the ultimate chess piece for a defense. But it does seem like Notre Dame is seriously considering playing him both ways. I don't know how extensively he would play wide receiver, but he certainly has the size and the ability, the ball skills to play wide receiver. So it's one of those things where, like, I know that they're going to tell him when they're recruiting him that they're going to be willing to play both ways. Did you get the impression that Notre Dame would actually try him out at wide receiver once he gets on campus?
He brought it up to me that he might play a little receiver at some point, and I could see it. Like, his hands are ridiculous. He just has incredible hand-eye coordination. For anybody that watched his junior film, his first catch, we actually talked about it. He makes a diving over-the-shoulder one-handed grab going to the ground. I mean, Jerry Rice would applaud. So he just has skills that you cannot teach. And this just in, Notre Dame's not exactly dominant wide receiver. So whether Notre Dame likes it or not, it's probably a good idea to consider all options at wide receiver. And he's 6'4.5". Like, he is long as all get out. I don't know why you wouldn't at least think about it. And even if he just went out there and played a few snaps a game, that's something else for the opposition to have to prepare for. And there aren't many 6'4.5" guys that run and jump like Joey. So good luck to those teams trying to guard him.
I'm glad we have an official height for Joey O'Brien, because he's listed at 6'3", and I was joking on the show last week that this is the first example, maybe in the history of high school recruiting, where a player was listed shorter than their actual height. It has never happened, but in the case of Joey O'Brien, it does appear to be the case. And last week, when Notre Dame picked up commitments from O'Brien and 4-star cornerback Kari Adams, it was a surreal day in Notre Dame recruiting to land 2 players of that caliber within a few hours of each other. So we've talked about Joey O'Brien already. I want to ask you about Kari Adams, because he's so talented, and I do feel like he's kind of getting overshadowed because of the star power of O'Brien. But what do you think makes Kari Adams such a special prospect?
Just his absolute ability to turn it on whenever he wants, kind of like a button. When he wants to hit go, he goes from first gear to fifth gear. His explosiveness is different. Like, O'Brien's a really good athlete, but he's not as twitchy as Kari Adams. Like, that kid has just go-go juice. Like, you could play him at receiver too. He's faster, especially in his first couple steps. And by the way, Joey's never run a 40-yard dash in his life. That's something that's funny. But I think that Kari is a kid that has a world of upside. He's still very raw. He could play the boundary spot. He could play free safety. He could play receiver. You could probably play him at slot nickel. You do anything you want with him. He's just athletic enough, and he's got length too, to play any of them. So his film, he shows off how cocky he is because he knows he's going to score all the time and all that. He backs it up. He's an arrogant kid. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And I'm cool with it. Like, if you're going to play DB, if you're not arrogant, you're probably not going to survive, because you're going to get smoked no matter who you are. There are guys today that were top 10 DBs in the country. They got absolutely killed because the guys are going up against are 10-5 and below. There were multiple kids around 10-300 meters today at this event. You're going to lose some of those reps. So you've got to be able to be arrogant and come back to the next rep and just play it all over again.
Yeah, as a former wide receiver, at least a long, long time ago, I do find defensive backs is maybe the most annoying subspecies on the planet. But look, you got to be arrogant to play the position because it is just so difficult. Like you said, you're going to lose some reps. You got to have short memory if you're going to succeed. But something you and I have talked about extensively in the past is Notre Dame and their defensive line recruiting and how they have just missed on so many of their top guys. Not to say that they haven't landed some, like they are in really good shape this year with Boubacar Traore and Bryce Young. But now it seems like Notre Dame is trending the right direction with an interior defensive line target in Elijah Golden. If they're able to land him to go alongside Rodney Dunham and Ebenezer Iwatade on the edges, and then Tiki Hola, another interior defensive lineman, I think that this could be the best D-line class for Notre Dame since 2016 when they signed Julian Akwara, Dalen Hayes, Khalid Karim, and Ade Ogundeji in the same class. So how do you think this group, assuming Golden does end up picking Notre Dame, how does it stack up with the D-line hauls that we usually see from top SEC schools, Ohio State, like the traditional recruiting powerhouses?
I think it's pretty much on par. If you're looking at it from a four-man line standpoint, Elijah Golden would be the other interior player. You'd have one guy for each spot. They all have length. They all have specific traits that you can't teach. Like Golden, for instance, he's a big-time wrestler. Tiki Hole is a power player. They can play nose or three-tech. And the two DNs can play on either side that have exceptional length and athleticism. That's an SEC defensive line class. Tennessee, Florida State, LSU, USC, any school over the last 30 years that's had those D lines, you're like, Notre Dame never has this. This is the kind of group that can get to that category. My biggest question, if number one, if they get Golden, does he turn it on, take it to that next level? He's got the athleticism, but we haven't seen him dominate yet. I'm curious to see what he does this fall. He's playing at Cardinal Newman now, but it's not one of the bigger programs as far as like classification and everything in the Sarasota area. But he should dominate that level, like just completely run roughshod over it. If he doesn't, I'd be a little concerned because athletically, there's nobody there that can handle it.
Okay, the last two prospects I want to ask you specifically about, we've already alluded to them, the pair of 2027 quarterbacks, Teddy Jarrard, who is at the Rivals camp, like you said, plus Peyton Houston. Both are very talented. They both bring different skill sets to the table. But why do you think Gino Guidugli ultimately decided to offer those two players after such an extensive evaluation process? Because there were a lot of other guys in consideration, like Malachi Ziegler, who was on campus for Irish Invasion, and I think a lot of people thought that he was going to be one of the first offers, but instead, Gino decided to go with Teddy and Peyton. So what is it about those two guys that separates them from the rest?
Yeah, I don't know Gino, so this is just pure speculation on my part. I've never communicated with him in any way. I think fit is a big part of it. Teddy would be an elite fit. He's pretty much CJ Carr, but he's not as talkative as CJ, but they're the same person otherwise, same type of player too. So that's kind of self-explanatory. Peyton's dynamic, but he's a really personable kid, fun to be around. I think that after they got burned in the Deuce thing, that's one of the reasons they dragged it out a little more, just my guess. And they're looking for fit, not just the player, but the people around them. Can they be guys that are not only good, but can they bring in other players? Like they want to kind of recruit quarterback similar to what Ohio State or LSU do. They want a guy that can be the hallmark of the class. So these guys fit that, not just talent-wise, but off the field as well. Like they're both very approachable. And at Notre Dame, it's different. I mean, Tyler, you understand this as somebody that went to Notre Dame. Every one of those classrooms you go into, the kid next to you is probably as smarter than you. Like you got to take a different kind of kid if you're going to.
They were all smarter than me.
Okay, I'm not going to comment on that. But 1450 SAT where you went to school is just whatever. Like some kids can't handle that, so I think they're looking at the process a little differently. I don't think Peyton or Teddy would really care about it. As for only offering two, I thought that was kind of light. I probably would have offered a couple others too, but I don't know what the timelines are either. That might have been part of the equation. They might want to get this done early and start recruiting the receivers for the 27 class because they know they got to get a head start because like Notre Dame's not looked at by the elite receivers as a destination location like Ohio State or Alabama or LSU. So there's a lot of factors involved.
Did you get the sense at all that they hurt themselves with the timing of this offer coming in so late, considering I'm sure Teddy and Peyton have a ton of other suitors?
I don't really think it's so much that they hurt themselves. They've been recruited forever. Like Peyton said, he started getting recruited by Notre Dame in his freshman year. So I was like, oh, wow. Okay, well, that's never mind. I didn't even ask a follow-up question. That's pretty early. So Teddy is a kid that it kind of happened out of the blue. He went to a private Christian school just outside Atlanta last year. They were pretty good, but small school. And like as soon as he went to a couple of camps and stuff and like the Rivals Atlanta camp, every offer in the book came in. So he kind of blew up out of nowhere. So it's really new to him in general. Peyton was a kid everybody knew about a little earlier, but I don't think they care. Like both those kids are kind of like it's water off a duck's back. They just really don't care. Some other kids might. A lot of quarterbacks are very, and I mean very thin-skinned. So they might have burned themselves with some other kids, but I don't think it really matters with these two.
Notre Dame has been stacking talent at every level, but the bigger question is, can they keep this momentum going? So coming up, we're going to break down what's been driving this recruiting run and what comes next for the Irish. So more from this crossover episode coming up next. So I think there are a bunch of different factors driving Notre Dame's success on the recruiting trail, but to me, this is the type of run that Notre Dame fans have been waiting for since Marcus Freeman took over as head coach. So what do you think are the biggest reasons behind Notre Dame's success on the recruiting trail this cycle? Because Marcus Freeman is obviously a part of it. The run to the College Football Playoff National Championship is also critical. So there's a bunch of different things, but what is the driving force behind it all, in your opinion?
I think it's the staff that actually understands recruiting has to come first. Notre Dame has had way too many coaches that they didn't really want to be at Notre Dame anymore than to get something on their resume and move on, so they didn't recruit hard. But let's use Mickens as an example. He could go to a lot of places and coach, and he stayed. They've got guys that just want to be at Notre Dame as coaches. You're not going to be successful as a recruiter at any school, let alone Notre Dame where it's harder, unless you really want to be there. So that's first. They got a staff that really likes being there. Like, this is Denbrock's third tour of duty in South Bend. That's not normal. So, I mean, I've only spoken to Mike a few times in my life, and he's a nice guy, but that's a different deal. You got to have guys like that. And then secondarily, they're selling Notre Dame. Like, if you have a relationship with kids and you really push it and find the right niches with them, selling Notre Dame's not hard. It's that first part I just talked about. It's the biggest difference. It's the assistant staff. It's the best top to bottom staff as a recruiting group in a long time. And even some of the guys that didn't always recruit at an elite level, let you figure out who some of those guys might be. They picked it up here this class. I don't know what all it is. And then finally, Freeman is the equalizer. Everybody likes that guy. I talked to Javian Osborne's dad about him quite a bit today, and he said Freeman was the deal breaker. Like, he was the reason they picked Notre Dame. That matters. Most head coaches don't dislike recruiting, Tyler. They loathe its existence. They hate it. He likes it. And without it, Notre Dame wouldn't be anywhere.
That's interesting to hear that from Javian Osborne's dad, because I think most people kind of gave all the credit to Jaywan Sider, and I'm sure that Sider had, a big impact as well, but it's interesting that they said it was Freeman that was the closer in this, but you hear that a lot. You heard it from Joey O'Brien as well. So from your conversations with recruits and people at other programs, do you get the sense that some of the traditional recruiting powerhouses are starting to take notice of Notre Dame and looking at them a little bit differently?
That's a fact. There are some schools that are telling kids they'll get more NIL if they don't take the Notre Dame visit. That's as factual as it gets. Like, they flat out fear the Notre Dame visit. Notre Dame's not a state school, so it's not apples to apples, and you don't know how the kid's going to react. It's either A or B. They will or they will not like it, but it's Russian roulette. Even if you're Texas, even if you're Southern Cal, even if you're Florida schools, it's probably easier to recruit to. Some kids just love the Notre Dame visit. Joey O'Brien's a good example of that recently. Javian Osborne's a good example of that, and so on down the list. There's a lot of guys you just can't project. It had like Noah Grubbs last year. He just said he liked the visit better than anywhere else, and that was it. So they prefer you not take it. I've heard that multiple times. So it's a wild world of NIL anyway, but like, hey, you got to lock it down now because you're not getting this money if you take the Notre Dame bit, like, flat out. Of multiple schools, different scenarios, all because of Notre Dame.
What is Notre Dame doing on these visits? Like, I'm sure that, and I've seen, a bunch of other schools, they roll out the red carpet. They're doing all this stuff for the recruits. But I mean, it is pretty clear that Notre Dame is doing something right because they're getting all these commitments after the official visits. I mentioned before, I got to see some of it a couple weekends ago. But what does Notre Dame do differently on these official visits that just puts them in such great position?
I have no idea.
Yeah, we gotta start getting recruited.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to recruit me. I think I'm out the window on that one. But they do a great job. I mean, look at the June 13th weekend. Mm-hmm. If Braden Robinson signs, I think that's the weekend. They will sign every kid that was on that weekend. That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hit anywhere near 50% on a weekend, you're doing pretty good. Brother, that's just not normal for any era, even the Holtz era. Nobody did that. So they're doing something right.
If Notre Dame finishes this class the way that they're hoping, if they add Elijah Golden, they get Kadon Finley, they get Robinson, they either get Ian Premer or Evan Jacobson, where would this class rank historically among Notre Dame's best?
The 90 class, I would say, is still better. And one or two of the classes from the 1940s, like Usamoji did a couple articles on that before he passed. But, I mean, this is the best class since the 90 class in terms of balance and athleticism. And that class had 5 first-round draft picks, including Jerome Bettis and Bryant Young. They were solid. So I would say that Notre Dame's in the right direction because this is balanced, a lot of speed. It's got defensive linemen and corners in it, positions. Notre Dame usually sucks at recruiting historically. They're doing really well. And the key, this is something a lot of fan bases will get mad at, but it's just true. There are a handful of schools that have sustainability in recruiting. What I mean by that is that not that they have top classes every year, Tyler, but their recruits stay on campus. Clemson, Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State. There's a handful. Do you see a trend with those schools? They win a lot of games. So Notre Dame's class to me is higher than some other schools, like Miami, that 2023 class that was really good. Half those kids are gone. They're taking too many mercenaries.
A&M too.
Same thing. And how well does A&M do making it? Oh, that's right. They don't. They take too many kids that don't want to be at A&M. They want a paycheck. Notre Dame's not doing that. Those are the schools that are going to win. There's about 7, 8 of them that are different. Those are the programs that will be in the Final Four every year. So Notre Dame's class is really, really good because they got sustainability and talent, not one or the other.
All right, Brian, I know it's getting late for you, so before we go, remind the people where they can find you.
Absolutely. The Portal Podcast. You can find me each and every day talking recruiting, talking about camps. I'm going to be at Future 50. There will be a whole bunch of Notre Dame recruits there this Friday and Saturday down at IMG Academy in Bradenton. I'll be breaking that down over the weekend and early into next week. Every day, man, recruiting. There's a lot of commitments to talk about.
I know I'm going to be tuning in, so you should as well, but that's going to do it for today's crossover episode. Thanks again to Brian, and thank you for tuning in and making this your first watch or listen of the day. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, or if you're listening on the podcast feed, please rate and review. It really helps grow the show. I'm going to be back on Friday with another edition of Top 5 Friday. I'll see you then.